Hello, everyone. So, welcome to yet another episode of The Conversation. And today we have with us Dr. Sonal Shree. So, welcome, Dr. Sonal.
Hi, Dr. Dikshit, as I'd like to call you now.
Thank
Congratulations for
you.
your PhD.
Thank you so much. So, Dr. Sonal, before we jump on to the questions and talk a lot about, because you are a multi-dimensional personality, so there are a lot of questions that I have in store for you. But for the sake of yours, if you
Mhm.
could just talk a bit about your background, who you are as a person, that would be extremely helpful.
Okay, so who am I as a person is something interesting that I'd like to talk about. Of course, other than professional affiliation, because that is what gives me my bread and butter. So let me tell you, I'm Sonal Shree, and I've been associated with education sector since 2011. Before that, I did my PhD. And currently, I'm associated with Symbiosis Institute of Business Management, Symbiosis International University, as Associate Professor of HR OB, and within OB specifically leadership and leadership communication. So this is about my professional affiliation in short. And as far as the person that I am is concerned, I am an extremely you would say focused person, in the sense that till the time I do not learn something new, which is beyond my profession, I keep on feeling quite frustrated and agitated, restless. So this is the person that I am, and if you go through my profile, other than teaching, I love training. I love being a coach, being a mentor, and just for interest, I also tried my hand at NLP.
Mhm.
And other than that, I read a lot of books and like to chill out, take regular breaks, sometimes just by myself, sometimes with my family. So this is who I am in short.
Okay. So thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. So were you always wanting to be a part of the academic fraternity, or was that something that happened by accident?
Okay, so it was not something that was planned, I'll be honest. My parents are both academicians, and they retired as university professors as well. So as a child, I had taken this pledge that I'd never get into academics. I mean, there was
Okay.
one Bhishma Pitama, and then there was me. But then he was resolute, I wasn't. So I have worked in a corporate, but I don't like to talk about it because I was really not doing a good job. I was not satisfied.
Mhm.
And once I got a chance to train certain people, and it was then that it struck that actually I enjoy training. And then the practical reason was that teaching wasn't a very highly paid job then.
Yeah.
But the moment Sixth Pay Commission was introduced, and I read an article on front page of Times of India that these would be the salaries, I was like, this is something I have to do. And I was net qualified. So my parents, by the way, kept pestering me in the background that you should go for NET, you should do your PhD. So thank you to them. Today, I
Mhm.
can say that I went ahead on this journey. And when this opportunity came at the right time, when I was just thinking about making a switch, it just happened. And ever since then, I've not looked back. So my
Okay.
pratigya is all gone.
It's
Shift
gone for a
first, delete
toss.
most.
But you
Shift first,
seem you seem to be very content and satisfied having made that shift from the corporate to the academic world. And you said that you were
delete.
not happy with what you were doing there. So tell us a bit more about it. What changed for you as an individual?
See, the processes were not as well defined as they are today. Okay, for
Yeah.
example, today organizations have flexible work policies.
Yeah.
They have a lot of opportunities to learn and prove yourself. Earlier, just doing a mundane job, for example, calling candidates, and I was not really enjoying it. So I wouldn't say I did a bad job, but it was not something that I would classify something as praiseworthy or something that is to be emulated. So I
Hmm.
think just maintaining a something for the sake of it is not something that will ever keep you happy.
True.
So I mean, this is what it is in short.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So talk us a bit about your experience in the academic world. You said you're also a leadership facilitator. How has that journey been
Mhm.
so far?
Okay, so leadership facilitation did not really happen overnight. So I teach a course called Leadership and Capacity Building in semester 3 of MBA at
Hmm.
SIB in Pune.
Okay.
So that was something I realized, that instead of just talking plain theory, or just conducting leadership training programs. I mean, one cannot be a leader,
Yeah.
right? So it has to come from within, and it is more than a position. You have to develop your disposition. I mean, what are you without any position today? Will people rally behind you if you, let's say today, you do not work with a certain organization or you do not have a certain title? So this is what prompted more of thinking, and then I decided let's explore it more. So I went ahead with a professional coaching, certification, and that was one thing that made me more confident that I can take on this journey. And of course, communication is something that is that has always been of interest to me. So leadership and communication came together, and ultimately, I realized that this is the base of it all. How you project yourself, how you talk to people, how you understand things which have not been said. These are the things which define leadership.
Interesting. Very interesting. So, if I look at your journey so far, I mean, from teaching leadership to facilitating leadership to coaching on leadership, and very recently also being an author in the context of leadership. So, how is that new thing turned out to be for you, being an author?
I mean, excellent. It's yet to sink in because, again, I'm not someone who would be quite diligent every day, because my 7 hours of sleep is very important. So
Hmm.
I can, I have a bad habit of postponing things. No, I would not say I'm a serial procrastinator, but I like to have my share of sleep.
Yeah.
So it wasn't easy, I would say, but really something that has made me think deeper, that maybe I did it well, okay, and because I could not talk to everyone directly. I mean,
Yeah.
for example, I'll tell you where it comes from. Some of my past students always used to come to my cabin and talk and share a lot,
Hmm.
right? And they always used to tell me, that ma'am, when you write on LinkedIn, I used to write before COVID itself. I mean, when
Yes.
there was no AI in our lives. So I started writing it as a coping mechanism. Okay. And when the students came back to me via LinkedIn messages or WhatsApp messages or in-person meetings that, these are helping us, I thought, okay, fine, putting it all together may make some sense. And then this is how, one thing led to the other and culminated into a book. So this was just one of the motivating factors, I would say.
Excellent. So you eventually went on to write this book called Leadoscope, right? So
Yeah.
talk us a bit more about what this book is all about. What is the message that you're trying to convey? And
Hmm.
why do you think a book like this is relevant in today's context?
Okay. So, in one line, I would say that go for leadership if you really want a toolkit or a therapy, but at a cheaper rate.
Hmm.
Okay. And I mean, see, let's face it, true leadership is when your self awareness meets courage. Okay. So, I mean, this is my endeavor through about 12 chapters, 10 including, and after that, the introductory and concluding chapter, to talk about whatever I feel or I felt was important. Okay, not on the basis of through thinking through my lens only, but on the basis of a lot of reading, observation, and talking to some of the leaders themselves. So, for example, let's say if someone says, I've done this myself, right? I have quoted an anecdote in the book that, there was a child who wanted to open a bottle's cap, and that was too tight. So all the family members tried it and they were not able to open. When it came to the child, it was the child was able to open it immediately, and then started jumping with joy. Okay, and the family members, just encouraged the child. When the child said, you all were failures at opening the bottle's cap, and I was the one who managed, the elder brother said, but we loosened it for you.
Yes.
So this
Hmm.
is the idea of leadership, that when people around you are doing everything, how are you the one who's doing everything? It's not possible. The team makes it possible. The people around you, the experience you have had as a child, as a professional, that have shaped your journey, right? So this is the crux of this book. I mean, and I've given examples from Ramayana and Mahabharata. For example, God Hanuman, he had forgotten his powers because of a curse. So
Yes.
Jamvan was the one who reminded him of it. So we all need such Jamvans in our life. Who we turn to will actually shape our journey. Mahabharat, for instance, Arjun chose Lord Krishna, whereas Duryodhan chose the huge army, and we can see what the rest is history, right? So these are the things I've closely realized, that leadership is not or never in isolation, and it is a byproduct of how you are, how you shape your mindset, and how you treat people around you, how much you observe, how you project yourself, and how you make people feel. So this is in short the essence of leadership, and of course the Leadoscope book. The full title is Leadoscope: Tools for Personal Mastery and Professional Excellence. So I've just tried my best to go beyond much of theory and include chapters like interesting. I'll just talk about one: mosquitoism, for instance.
Yeah.
So mosquitoism is, I mean, how I came across, I thought of this term was that, I mean, you may be too rich if you have never experienced a mosquito hovering around your ears. I mean, rest of us have experienced that. And how do we like it? Do we like it? We don't. Mosquito constantly buzzing. So what
Yeah.
do? We just want to drive it away, kill it, or do something about it. And this chapter is what I mean, I thought of including this analogy, that sometimes the minor irritants, like for example, micromanagement, or things that are not working in your favor, they are, they become major in interfering with your major focus in life.
Yes.
So how to deal with that? There are, I mean, I think more than 30 ways to shape your mind through exercises in this book. So this is what it is in short about Leadoscope, and I do hope people can get a hold of it and share their feedback with me if it's working for them or not.
Absolutely. I'm sure about that. Well, I had the opportunity to read your book. I simply loved it. I think there are some amazing insights that you bring to the table. When we talk about personal mastery, one of the things that I've been often thinking about is why do we really need personal mastery? Because a lot of people don't think of it until they actually need to demonstrate mastery in their work, or maybe it's a demand that they need to fulfill. So, what would be your suggestion? Why do people really need to look forward to excelling, becoming better, and trying to gain more control of their life? What's your take on that?
Okay. So, see, when we talk about this factor that you've rightfully highlighted, what happens that we often fall into the classic success trap.
Yes.
We are expanding, trying to expand in so many directions, and often we forget who we are. I mean, if we take example of the company called Lego, it was on the verge of bankruptcy. It was trying so many things. And then ultimately, when it realized that what is its core strength and capitalized on it, the rest is history. So the idea is that yes, you have to prove yourself, but in that, don't forget your originality, because otherwise you will have feelings of inadequacy, and you will undermine your confidence, right? So, negative states are good so long as they are catalysts for something positive. This is what I strongly believe in, and mental conditioning is something that I often talk about. So, I mean, learning is so important. And if you're resting on your past laurels. And we talked about Einstein effect, that, you think that you know it all and the past solutions will work for present problems. Sorry, boss. I mean, this is not the present. We
Yes.
are undergoing solid transition, and we don't know. I mean, we call these black swans, that these are unexpected changes and transitions in life happening. So, therefore, it is important to understand who you are as a person, what are your strengths, how you can seek help when needed, and of course, do your best. And rest, do not have to have anxiety for that. So that is what I can summarize in short. I'm not sure if it answered your question,
No, it did. It did.
but
I
if you
think what you're essentially trying to say is it's important for you to understand the fact that no matter who you are today, you got
yeah,
to have a vision of the future, that there is a better version in store for you. And at the same time, it does not
abs-
necessarily mean that you are deficient in something. It's just that you have this aspiration of being better consistently. And because of which you need to have the thirst and the hunger to keep learning so that you become better. So,
yes,
on that thought,
absolutely.
in one of the chapters, you've spoken about the imposter syndrome. And that's one thing which touched a chord with me, because even in my career as a facilitator and a coach, I do come across a lot of people who are mighty capable in what they do. Perhaps they have a lot of experience.
Yeah.
They've earned a lot of reputation, yet there is this feeling of inadequacy. There is this feeling of insufficiency. Sometimes it is homegrown. Sometimes maybe the criticism that people have to face, even if they fail in one particular juncture of their life. So, what do you think about this? I mean, how do we really go about dealing with imposter syndrome? Because I've seen this phenomena in students and professionals and in all spheres of life.
Right, that's a very important question because imposter syndrome can strike anyone at any stage in life. Okay. And the classic example you can see is on status updates, WhatsApp groups.
Correct.
I mean,
Yes.
it could make you feel as if what are you doing? I mean, are you even doing something? And you are running in the same place but not reaching anywhere. So, and there's a line that I had used that it almost feels like participating in a relay race, without anyone passing you the baton.
Yeah.
So I would say some of the ways to handle imposter syndrome, I would not say handle, manage it, because some degree of imposter syndrome is important, otherwise it will make you arrogant, right? If you feel that you don't know something, others are doing better, okay, accept this feeling and do what it takes for you to, I would not say match up, but to feel confident about it.
True.
And even then, if you are not, there are multiple ways. For example, I've discussed many in the book. I'll just talk about two, I guess, here. You can set your realistic goals. It could be as simple as that I'll, write two sentences today about this. So if it, gives you a sense of power, you will automatically start feeling confident. So the trick to handling imposter syndrome is that you reclaim your power. I mean,
Yeah.
the remote control gets it back in your hand. Then six thinking hats. I mean, I'm sure you would know that. So that's a very famous tool. You could use that. I mean, there are six metaphorical hats. So white is like starting with a plain slate. So write down what is bothering you. Then state facts. Be a devil's advocate. Be your own advocate. I mean, there are so many steps in it. Okay. Then what you can do is maintain a journal, or let's say you can have a Google Doc or Excel sheet of that and write down your accomplishments every year, month wise. Whatever you have achieved, make an entry into that. And that will really help, because whenever you have been doubtful, you can always go back to it and reclaim your power, as I said earlier, by reading or going through what you have done in the past, how far you have come, and how far you can go. So I can give you one example. I don't find anything wrong with sharing it. I had scored a 1 out of 50 in a school test.
Okay.
And let me tell you, my English was horrible coming from a small town. My parents were worried what would this girl do in life. And 1 out of 50 in English paper, and that too, I got that 1 mark because I had rightly answered one question that was too simple for everybody else, and of course that was simple for me as well. So now I can talk about it because I have understood that it wasn't an easy journey. So how far I've come, I'll realize it by making that as my reference point. So that will give me enough confidence that no matter what someone is saying, I mean, I may falter. Let's say I may have certain classes with MBA students which I'm not satisfied with. I may not know certain words today. I am bad with pronunciation of certain words, especially those French words, etc. So I will not, kill myself for that. I will have this confidence. Okay, fine, I don't know. I can always find out. So I think that is the way to handle imposter syndrome in short. I mean, it's almost like you have a protective cover around you that okay, others are doing well, but everything or everybody can find one space. So I just need that, and I'll reclaim mine by going back to what I have done in the past, how far I've come, and having achievable smart goals. Just take one thing at a time and seek help. I mean, I would highly recommend that if it's bothering you too much and you're not able to handle it yourself.
Absolutely. In fact, that example that you shared where you got 1 out of 50 is a
Yeah.
clear indication of the fact that now when you look back at what happened in your life and You look at what you went through emotionally, mentally when that happened. It's not only self doubt, but you spoke about your own parents. People who really want you to excel in your life. These are not people from the outside who are criticizing you, trying to pull you down, but these are
Mm,
people who really want you to do well. I think a lot of times what happens is because we want to look good or we want to earn respect for the people who mean a lot to us in our life, especially our parents or our close friends, maybe our teachers. I think we end up putting a lot of pressure on ourselves. And I'm sure you must have also seen that with the student fraternity, for that matter, who constantly go through the pressure
yes.
of trying to look good
Mm,
and be successful. So given that context, it becomes extremely difficult for people to deal with the emotional roller coaster rides that they go through. So, what do you think
mm,
one needs to
mm.
do? I mean, you spoke about writing as an art. If you could just tell us a bit more about how do you think that gives a healing touch, and why should one try and incorporate that?
Writing.
Yeah, you spoke about journaling
Okay.
and
Yeah.
the importance of doing that.
Mm. Yes, because see, you have raised a very important issue because these days, as of course being a teacher, we interact all, I mean, the fraternity interacts closely with the students. And I've seen the transformation. Earlier, students did not have, or maybe they did not open up more about their mental health issues. But
True.
now they are opening up, and the more they are opening up, the more we are worried that why don't they seek help on time?
Hmm. Hmm.
Why don't they do something about it? And as I said, you could have an imposter syndrome anywhere. For example, you open your social media page, okay, LinkedIn, Instagram, and you are trying to figure out if you are the one who's lagging behind or others are running too fast. So I would call it FOMO, and FOMO is good only till the extent it helps you improve, but it will really not do you any justice if you do not learn to appreciate your own uniqueness. And I firmly believe in JOMO, the joy of missing out at times. I mean, frankly, I will not recommend to everyone, but I am okay with having a boring lifestyle. And I don't care who says what. I mean, as I mentioned earlier that I need my 7 hours of sleep. If it's eight, great. But if it comes down to six or a five, I am not satisfied with it. So you have to redefine what success, satisfaction look to you. I mean, others' definition and yours could be entirely different, and it's absolutely okay. Yes,
Yeah.
you have to take care of your finances, you have to take care of your mental and physical health. And yes, you have to have, the sanity to accept that what you have chosen for yourself is also valid, right? And how you can do through writing is, I'll, for example, recommend a journal called Penzu. I do it online journaling on that.
Okay.
Penzu, Penzu. So even you are on mobile on the go, let's say something is bothering you too much, you may just write about it. And it's like you are looking at it objectively, that when you've just poured your thoughts onto that digital paper, okay, it's out of you. Okay, and if you keep filling the jug with water, do you think there'll be space for more? No. So therefore you have to empty yourself, and only then you can have space for more. That is the idea. So to the new generation, to the people who are feeling FOMO all the time, I would say start being confident in your own abilities. Your strengths come from being uniquely you. You can always improvise, that's okay. But you have to come down from the ivory towers that others have set for themselves and for you. I mean, life is not as rosy as it looks on Instagram, and not as successful as it may always look on LinkedIn. So just, quietly craft your own success story, and I'm sure you will excel. So it's just a matter of some time. Some plants take a lot of time to grow, some just grow within few months, so it's absolutely okay.
Yeah. I love the idea of JOMO, the joy of missing out. I don't think people take their happiness that seriously as much as they take their success seriously. And that's a real pity,
Hmm.
isn't it? Because our definition of success is a borrowed definition. And unfortunately, we have given it so much of importance that we have forgotten that being happy in what we're doing and what we're achieving is perhaps far more important. And you see, because of that, a lot of frustration, disappointment, self pity, and for that matter, even self loathing, because of which people are not able to live a contented or a holistic life that they would like to have. That's an interesting perspective that you bring to the table there. So, Dr. Sonal, you talk about the fact that you don't need to try and impress others. You need to be self-sufficient and be happy with who you are. However, we live in a world of trying to portray our brand image. We live in a world where you have to really grab eyeballs in order to offer your services or be meaningful to the world at large. And one of the chapters where you talk about this is how do you go about really branding, and also how do you balance that with humility. I found it really fascinating as a concept. Could you tell us a bit more about how do you really practically do it?
Okay. So thank you for this question, because this is a great clarification to my statement. So when you talk about this chapter on humility plus personal branding, so they may appear as contrasting elements, but believe me, together in the right proportion, it could be a formidable formula for success and authenticity. So, I mean, you would not like anyone who is talking about, their achievements as be in a boastful manner, right?
Yeah.
You want the person to appear authentic, right? And there are multiple examples in the book. For example, I'm not sure if you have heard of this person called Khan Sir from Bihar,
Yeah.
or for that matter, you have, okay, or for that matter, food farmer
Yeah.
Revan. So he is the one. Then Sudha Murthy, Ratan Tata. These are the people, when they talk, people really like to listen to them. Whereas on the other hand, you talk about I, me, myself all the time. People will be in awe, but they will not really love you. Okay, they would be like you, but not connect with you at a human level. You may appear to them as a superhuman. Whereas the idea of bringing humility in personal branding is to connect. Okay, and that speaks, more powerfully as compared to when you boast about it. And of course, you have to use facts, but here the importance of storytelling, talking about your own experience, learning from your failures, etc., becomes quite important and noteworthy. So this is what it is. And as you said, that you have to be self-satisfied, but not at the cost of not being visible, because nobody has this element of telepathy, and technology is not yet that advanced that people will learn about you without you talking about it. So
True.
therefore I focus a lot on writing, and writing not in personal journals, but also on social media. People should know who you are,
Yeah.
right? And only then they will understand that yes, this is the potential that you have, because in itself potential is nothing, and it's useless if it's not executed and if people don't know about it. So earlier it was like everybody was happy in their own compartment. Obviously that cannot work today, because social media has an important role to play.
Yeah, absolutely. I like the idea how you are asking people to leverage social media the right way rather than getting bogged down by the pressures of social media. Just to extend on the thought, when you spoke about humility, one of the questions that I often get to hear, especially from the younger generation, is do you really make an attempt to be humble, or is that the way who you are? I mean, it's always a dicey and a slippery slope, isn't it? Is that, do I really have to put in efforts to be humble, or maybe I was just born humble, or this is who I am? So it's kind of a catch 22 situation at times. What's your take on this?
See, not everybody can be likable. If you try excessively, you're not authentic. Okay. So if you have an element of empathy, or if you start developing that, only then this element can work for you. Otherwise, people will be able to see through you. I mean, I'm sure you would have read that Panchatantra story, of that Chakal, or was fox
Yeah, Fox.
that had put on the veil of sheep.
Yeah.
People will see through you. Okay. So therefore, it is all about the shift in the mindset and emotional intelligence. If you do not have it naturally, I'm afraid you cannot pretend. But yes, I would always like to say that one can always work on the gaps, and for that you need to really practice with someone who is more knowledgeable, for example, or more, I would say, trained to help you with that. Okay, so one could be a coach, the other could be a mentor. And here you could use Johari window, for instance, to seek feedback on your blind spots. So that is a short answer, or rather a medium length answer to your short question.
No, fair enough. So, one of the things that you spoke about is sharing your thoughts openly and using social media to do that. And at the same time, not being narcissistic about it and not kind of broadcasting who you are, but sharing things because you believe in something, you want to express yourself more. But what has also been seen, and this is true for people across different fields of excellence, is that not everyone has the ability to communicate. And when I use the word communicating, I would like to say that I'm not referring to English as a language, because usually that's the philosophy that people have, is that if you can speak great language, then you're a great communicator, which is not true. So when it comes to communication, it comes to expressing, it comes to asking for help or for a variety of other things. What does one do? How do you enhance your influence as a communicator?
Okay, so what is the exact question? One is, how do you be a good communicator or enhance your influence?
It's a bit of both. For example, I think in general, everyone needs to be a good communicator. But when you're a leader specifically, it's more about the ability to influence others, people's thoughts with your communication as well. So if you could shed some light on both the ideas.
Okay, so one part, I'll answer it in two parts. So one is, of course, how to be a good communicator. So I think read a lot, because if you don't know about something, you will not be able to write or talk about it.
Yeah.
For example, if I ask you to talk about your mother, you'll be very confident. Talk about your father, your sister, brother, family member. You will be, I mean, do you think you need any preparation? You don't, because you know about it. But if I ask you to talk about geopolitics, right? I mean, then you may want to just run away from that place because you have no idea what's going on around the world. So, reading is non compromisable, reflecting is non compromisable, and writing on that helps you, or put a structure to whatever you have read and understood. So I think these are the three ways for you to improve your communication. Until the time you know about it, I mean, you better don't speak. Get your facts clear.
Yeah.
And if you can't figure it out, ask someone who knows about it. And every time it's not possible, and that is why it is recommended that you should be familiar with what is going on internally, externally in an organization, for example. What is going on in the world, what is going on with the economy. So you cannot just afford to sit in one place and without even trying to understand your environment.
Yeah.
So you are a product of your environment. Everything is shaped by it. So better make an effort to understand what is going on and how it can impact you, your family, your society, your nation, other nations, and the relationships. So this is one part of it. And practice, of course. So if you are talking about spoken communication, you have to practice. We were not all born from our mother's wombs with knowledge of any language, right? We learned. So practice, I mean, there's no substitute to that. And then second part, influence. So when I mean, this is a byproduct, I would say. If you know about something, right, you can speak or discuss that confidently. Automatically, you will be building an influence. So let's take, for example, the case of introverts and extroverts in organizations. So extroverts typically will be in more limelight. Why? Because they know how to talk about things. Whereas introverts, they may falter. And despite the fact that they have talent, they may not be able to rise to the top. I mean, that is an unfortunate reality. But again, they can always write about it. Right. So this is the idea that if you cannot speak, write. But if you cannot do both, then I mean there are three kinds of people: people who make things happen, people who watch things happen, and people who wonder what happened.
Yeah.
So definitely the third category is not something that I'd expect you to be in for more influence.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a wonderful summary. So when you talk about enhancing your capability as a communicator, you extensively vouched for reading. And I know, and in fact, a lot of us have experienced that people don't read today. I mean, a lot of us don't read today, or maybe people read on social media or on digital platforms, but the habit of genuine reading for self-reflection, for enhancing your knowledge quotient. Uh, you spoke about geopolitics, but I've seen a lot of people, they don't read about their own chosen area of excellence. So they don't have a clue about what's happening in there. So how does one get into this habit of reading and reading wisely for personal growth?
Okay. So first of all, start with something that interests you, because you know what, many people have talked to about this problem that we don't like reading books, we don't like learning about these things, etc. It happens because you take it as a chore.
Yeah.
That yes, from today at 12:22 p.m. I will be a grand reader. It cannot happen that way. So better start with something that interests you, right? And you are the one who can figure out what interests you. Okay. For example, you could start with well thought of restaurant menu. Okay, sometimes they write about the history of the restaurant. Sometimes they write about the history of the food. So if by chance you get it, read it. You could have a look at the billboards. Which messages are more effective, right? And you could understand exactly how messages are transmitted into our minds. For example, social media algorithm, whatever, our brain is like that. Okay, whatever we focus on, it starts showing you more of that, like social media algorithm. So, I mean, get into this habit of reading one thing at a time, something that interests you, and then discuss with people and find multiple dimensions, go into its history. For example, today, if we talk about the relationship of, let's say, Israel and Palestine, so you are watching everything, what's going on. But let's say my favorite is Palki Sharma Upadhyay of Vantage, and I love the way she talks about geopolitics. She talks about the latest stuff. So I think there are so many interesting things happening. You want to know exactly why is this happening? Why are they at war? Why is US concerned? Why should India be concerned, or should it be concerned, or not concerned at all? So this is one area. Then again, let's say people talk about certain other aspects other than geopolitics, for example books, or for example history, or for that matter geography. You cannot know everything, that is a given fact, but at least you can try to learn more about it. And for that, step number one is to find something that interests you immediately so that you don't give up.
Yeah, I think
And
that's
then just build up on it slowly.
yeah. So I think the important thing is to take baby steps and then to identify what you really want to learn more about and then get more into the details of it, right? Perfect. So
Absolutely.
are there any books that you have found fascinating, something that you'd like to recommend others to read, maybe in the context of leadership or other topics as well? Any particular books that you'd like to mention?
Yes, of course. One is my book, Leadoscope.
Yeah, absolutely. So for all viewers, once again, Leadoscope is a book that you have to read, especially if you're looking forward to personal mastery. That's, of course, the first book that Dr. Sonal Shree has written, but definitely not the last one. So yeah, please go on.
See, there are many great writers, of course. So, other one book that I always recommend even to my students is Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this was something really so profound. I mean, this man survived a Nazi camp.
Yeah.
And his reflections, how he had that glimmer of hope to survive, is something that everybody must read. So I think start with that. And of course, if that doesn't interest you, then there are other genres. For example, those people during their mid-career crisis, if they are facing that, there's a book called Reset. Then you could read biographies of famous people. So I think these are the ways. Which other book should I recommend?
So, Dr. Sonal
I
Shree,
mean,
you spoke
I
about
have
this
a
book
long
for mid-career crisis. What's the name of the book again?
Reset.
Reset.
I'll
Okay.
just, yes, I don't remember the name of the author. Let me Google it right away. It was a yellow covered book, Reset or Reboot. Would you allow me to Google 1 minute?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's important for us to get the right name so that we can push and encourage people to pick up the habit of reading. So on that note, I mean, as you're searching, I would like to also love to know this. I mean, one of the reasons I love to read books is, of course, to get knowledge from other people and use that as a medium to
Yeah,
also share my knowledge with other people, but also from the perspective of getting self inspiration. So,
yeah.
what keeps you inspired? I mean, you definitely read, you write, and you do a lot of other things, but as a person,
Mhm.
what is it that Dr. Sonal Shree looks forward to, something that you can hang on to even when you're going through adversity or a tough time?
Okay, I'll answer that first. Let me talk about the author of the
Sure,
book. So
sure.
it's Amy Tintera. Amy Tintera. The book is Reboot. I
Reboot.
liked it. I mean, your choice may be different. It's okay. And yeah, what keeps me inspired is what you're talking about.
Yes.
See, I always appreciate the fact that I have gift of life. Okay, so and I'm waking up every day, and when I'm old, I don't want to regret that I didn't do this. And this is a reality that there could be emergency situations, and making space for something new will always take time. And you always want to be in a desired state from your current state. So what are you doing to reach from this X to stage Y? Okay, that's one question. Second, I need to figure out, it's very important for me to figure out if I'm walking towards something I should be avoiding or running away from something that I should be facing.
Mm.
So that's very important for me. And that's why I like to explore a lot that what is it that actually makes sense to me. So, because it's very important again for me to, and I think for everybody to stop measuring ourselves against the past or the others, because only then we can be ready for the future. And there was one sentence I read somewhere that before you try to fix the world, maybe fix your Monday mornings, right? So, so when we're talking about these things, I think it makes sense to keep exploring so that the spirit of the childlike wonder stays alive, and it also gives a dopamine rush to you. So, if I have to talk from the point of view of neurosciences, if you have to have a glowing face, then if you keep learning and you'll be brimming with that confidence that
Yeah.
yes, I know about it, I can talk to people about it, and I'll be happy to exchange the knowledge. And I don't have a victim mindset in that case, that
Yes.
world is praying for me, and PREY, I mean. And so this is the idea. I mean, that is what keeps me inspired.
Absolutely. I think nothing beats the glow of knowledge on your face. No cosmetics in the world can come even closer to that. Very
Yeah.
beautifully put across. I think that was a very, very enriching thought, I must say. Dr. Sunashri, it's been a real privilege talking to you on your book, on a variety of topics. And I'm sure that all the people who have been listening to and watching this would have garnered a lot of insights from this. And I wish you all the very best. You spoke about writing the second edition of your book, and I'll look forward to that as well. And we'll look forward to getting you back on this platform where you can share the pearls of wisdom with the audiences across the globe. So thank you once again for being here today. It was lovely, lovely interacting with you. Any passing thoughts that you'd like to share before we close this?
Okay, so first of all, thank you for having me. And I had no idea exactly what would be your questions. So thank you for having a rich discussion on some of the questions which often plague our minds. And parting thought, I mean, really nothing, because I'm like an open book. Okay. And I learned so many things because I wanted to experiment. I don't have one passion in life. So if people say, what is your passion? I don't have any answer. And it's absolutely okay if you don't have any answer, because that can make us rigid, that I'm passionate only about this. Here I am exploring the wide, beautiful world, right? And just to inform the viewers and you as well, I also paid a lot, hefty amount for learning about content creation, the
Mm,
editing, the scripting, etc. Because I wanted a pivot in my career at one point. Okay, so open before the audience now, because frankly, midlife crisis is something that often sets in career with various people. I was no exception. I am no exception. So I did that course, but I realized that it's helping me teach better. Okay,
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
face camera better. So although it didn't directly help me with another career, but it did help me with what I was currently and what I am currently doing. So I think keep learning. I mean, everything will come together. All the dots will connect beautifully. Thank
Sure.
you.
Wonderful. If I have to sum up our entire discussion, Dr. Sonal, I think I'll just put it in one line: be an open book, and for God's sake, open the book. Yeah. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much once again. It was wonderful talking to you, and I look forward to seeing you sometime very, very soon. Bye bye for now.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.